Hello everybody, my name is Luke and I am the Education Coordinator at Hanford Mills Museum. And today we're going to be talking about how water, even though it's everywhere, is still a limited resource. Believe it or not, the vast majority of water on Earth is salt water. It's true that most of the Earth's surface is covered in water, but the vast majority of that water is salt water. Something like 96 to 97% of that water is stuff that we can't drink. Another 2 to 2.5% is water that's stuck in glaciers, that's underground, that's in swamps, that's not necessarily great to drink right away. So that only leaves us with half to even 1/4% max. So 1 out of 400 pieces of water on the entire Earth are good to drink. So it's really best that we try to be careful with the water we use. It's pretty rare that around here that we run out of water, but it's always good to conserve because there's other places that don't have the water. There's places like Arizona or New Mexico that can be really, really dry. So we're going to be going over today a quick activity that you can do at home using materials that you have lying around and exploring the ways that we use water. We're also going to, after the activity, explain a little bit of ways that you can reduce the amount of water that you use. And we have a cool activity that we're going to include as well for you to take home. So, with that being said, let's get started. Okay, everybody, so for this activity, all we need are 2 glasses, a few pieces of tape, and then 4 or 1 sponge. And when I say 1 sponge, if you don't have 4 sponges, if you only have the 1, what you can do is, because each sponge represents a different kind of water that we're using. So for each activity, let's say we're doing our hand washing. If you want to use your imagination, really dunk your sponge up to here. That works perfectly fine. And then later on as we go, I'll show you kind of on the big sponge where the little sponge corresponds to. Okay, so this activity, we are going to be exploring how much water we use on a daily basis. So each one of these little sponges represents different water use. To start off our day, we're going to brush our teeth. Brushing our teeth is important. It helps keep our teeth nice and clean, but it does use water. However, there are ways we can reduce the amount of water we use. So when we brush our teeth, for example, by turning the water off, so if we just turn it on really quickly to wet our bristles and then brush while we have we can reduce the amount of water used. So by just turning that water off for just that 2 minutes, you're saving 2 gallons of water. Or over the course of the day, 4, if you're brushing your teeth 4 times or twice. So for the little sponge, we're going to do 2 dips of this. Each represents 2 minutes of brushing our teeth. And then we're going to squeeze as much water as you can. If you can't get it all out, that's totally okay. So that's 1. And that's 2. Or on our big sponge, if you just have the 1, it's about that line, if you're to draw a line over, like that. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is take a shower. We all need to take showers or baths and make sure that we're nice and clean. But we can reduce the amount of water we use. So let's say today was a stressful day, and we want to take a 15-minute or a 20-minute shower. So each one of these little sponges represents 5 minutes. So we're going to dunk this 4 times. Get all those bubbles out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you're looking at the big sponge, probably about half. Now let's say that we want to take a bath at the end of the day. It was just that kind of day. It was very, very stressful. So we have our second biggest sponge, which is actually about half the size of our normal size sponge. So we're going to dip this guy in here, absorb some of the water, and we're going to drain it out. Be careful with the bigger the ones, if you squeeze too hard, it might splash all over the place. We don't want that. And finally, let's say, I know April's usually pretty cloudy, but May's pretty close. So let's say that we have a really nice sunny day. It's in the 60s, but there's a lot of pollen out and our car or bike is dirty. So we want to wash it off with the hose. The big sponge represents the hose, how much water we would use. So dip this fella in here like this. And this drips a little bit because it's so big, so we're going to squeeze like that. Okay. So, we're going to mark at the end of our first day how much water we used without really trying to protect our water resources. Okay, good. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to do this again with a little bit more care, trying to pay a little bit more conscientious is the word of how much water we're using. It's a little bit cloudy from when the sponge was there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to try to use less water. So when we brush our teeth, instead of leaving the water on, we are just going to turn it on for a moment, wet our bristles, then turn it off. And to do that, all we need to do is just very quickly dip our little sponge in there and squeeze it out. And we're going to do that twice because we brush our teeth twice a day. We're trying to brush our teeth twice a day. And if you're using the big sponge, maybe just kind of dip the corner in. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to, again, take our shower, but instead of 20 minutes, we're going to try to do maybe 15 minutes. So then we're going to use our second smaller sponge. Remember, each one of these is a 5-minute shower. 1. 2. Now, it was a stressful day, but we decided maybe taking a bath might not be necessary, especially since we already took our shower. So we're not even going to use our sponge bath. And then finally, we know that even though May is a little bit warmer, a little bit sunnier than April, we do know that it will rain eventually. So we're going to hold off on washing our car. So for our second day, we used, let's see, I'll bring this towards me for a moment so I can see. This much water. Okay. So on our first day, without even trying, we used this much water. On our second day, we tried a lot harder. We only used this much water. There are a lot of ways we can save water, and just kind of being conscious of some of the ways that we use it is a big one. All right, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining us. I just wanted to conclude with a few parting thoughts. Just remember that water is limited. It's a limited resource. We have tons and tons and tons of it on Earth, but only a very, very small portion of that water we can use. So, to try to help us keep in mind that we should use less water and to help us keep track of the water we use, please check out our website at hanfordmills.org, where we have an activity guide to accompany this video that comes with your very own water tracking journal to help you keep track of how much water you're using every week. And there's a couple of different ways you can cut back. So please check it out, and we hope this video resource was useful to you. Until we see you again, hear from you again, stay happy and stay healthy.